Hi, and welcome back to another episode of She's the Boss. And I'm really excited today because I'm joined by the founder of Tash Pennant Consultancy, Tash Pennant. She describes herself as the chief dog's body, but I don't think that's a really nice way of putting it. So I'm going to say she's the be-all, the everything of Tash Pennant Consultancy. Hi, Tash. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, Daniela. Thank you for having me today.
So tell us about Tash Pennant Consultancy. What do you provide? What areas of specialism? And how did you come to start doing your consultancy?
So Tash Pennant Consultancy helps people connect with brands and organisations from the inside out. And what that means is I specialise in internal communications and employee engagement. So how my business works, how I work, is I go into organisations and I hear from them what the challenges are they're having, i.e. communicating internally, or whether leadership aren't understanding how their staff are working and how they can engage better. So that's when I get the call as a troubleshooter to go in there and find out what's under the skin, what are the ways that are causing some friction, and how can we alleviate that to enable to increase productivity, but also better staff bonding, better leadership and team bonding, and also just to have a really connected staff base that in turn become brand ambassadors for their organisations.
That was amazing. You obviously know your stuff. Sometimes people struggle to explain what it is they do, but clearly you live and breathe it. So that rolled off wonderfully. And how did you come to be interested in kind of all of what you do?
I started in internal communications back in 2008 after I graduated, and I got a job within the NHS as an internal communications officer. And then my director at the time, she had a change around in staff, and then she made me internal communications manager. What that meant was I then got really into understanding our staff base. What that meant, I was the person that would know everything about everyone due to the fact of being the internal communicator. You needed to be the kind of temperature gauge for what the organisation was going through, whether that be change, good times, stable times. When I joined the NHS, the particular trust I joined at the time, a primary care trust, was going through a huge amount of pressure financially. And so everywhere we looked, it was pressure. And the challenge that you have with a staff base that's constantly serving and caring for people, if they're not being communicated well with, it causes that impact on patient care, but also the staff morale. So I really enjoyed it from then, and I kind of moved into the private sector, working with Lloyd's pharmacies in employer branding. And then after that, I made a decision to go out for myself, because I realised I've been through healthcare sectors, both private and public, gone into the energy sector, and sometimes you just know when you can do not a better job, but a different job from your perspective. And sometimes being salaried doesn't always allow you that flexibility to solve the problems as you'd like in the way that you think is best.
So you're in a salary job, you're getting paid at the end of the month, you know your bills can be paid because you've got money. What makes you say, I'm just going to stop and I'm going to try and do this for myself? And where does the confidence to do that from? Because it must have been very scary. And what were you scared of? Because I was scared of not being able to pay the rent.
I think I totally agree with you there, Daniela. I think what made me start was I just realised that in the salary job that I was in, I was a square peg in a round hole. I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes we see things in different ways to other people. And within the particular role I was in and the team I was in, I just knew that I just saw kind of more things to do, and I was always restricted in that particular capacity. So when I decided to say, it's fine, I'm going to press stop on this, and what I'm going to do is go out for myself, it was incredibly scary. Scary because, and I always say this in consultancy now, is when people want to pay you with thank you or platitudes, I just remind them, you know what? British Gas or any other utility company that we deal with don't get paid in, I don't know, apples and pears, or even, you know, really good platitudes. They send you a letter saying, please so-and-so pay X, Y, and Z for the services you've used. And so one of my greatest challenges was, how am I going to actually pay the rent? How am I going to do this? One clear for me was my faith in God, but also as a Christian. But my challenge also was practically, there's praying, but there's also you to do some practical stuff. So what happened for me was I went on a radio station, and it was a business show, and I told everybody who was listening at the time that I'm Tash Pennant, running Tash Pennant Consultancy. I hadn't quite got my strapline down, but I was going to help people in communications. I was going to do everything for everybody. And I think that's how I got my first client though. But I think the funniest thing is the fear of you have to actually tell somebody. And when you don't have that grounding to be able to say, I run a business, or even when you don't have any clients. And my story was I had no clients whatsoever. Nobody knew I existed. I just told my family that, yes, I'm doing this. And they were like, yeah. And then I was thinking, who's going to work with me? So the confidence thing was challenging. The paying the rent was challenging. You have to kind of walk in, take a leap of faith, but also be fearful and do it anyway. Keep stepping, and it's worked out all right. But I appreciate when you're starting out, one of the challenges can be is you're saying no to safety and yes to adventure, and that's what running a business is.
Yeah, I like that. That's definitely true. And you said that you got one of your first clients from that radio station. Did you have a strategy for, because something that my clients always ask me is, okay, so I'm doing this business, and kind of what you said, I'm in business, this is the business, I don't have any clients, how do I go out and find clients? What was your process and strategy behind that?
Well, I need to go back a couple of steps. In 2012, I went on a course which was accredited by Coventry University, and it's actually how to start and set up a business. So I had a plan back in 2012. At this point, it came about because I was made redundant in 2011 from the NHS, and 2012 I kept travelling to Birmingham doing this courses at Newhall Street. But then I became employed again. And I kind of kept the baby to myself in terms of Tash Pennant Consultancy. I registered it at the company's house. Nothing happened. So what plan did I have? Generally, I had the plan of desperation. And what I would say in terms of anyone watching and understanding this is you need to partner with people like Daniela for her consultancy, because there's steps that would be really helpful, and somebody walking alongside you at the time. It's great to have people encouraging you because they know you. But when you have somebody that's walked the path and said, you know what, when you're doing X, Y, and Z, that's just coming across really, really poorly. So why don't you try this? And so what I would advise is don't do what I did. Just have a plan. I now work with a business coach, but don't do the spaghetti thing where you literally cook the spaghetti and you're hoping that it's cooked properly, so you're flinging it at the wall. Some people do that. I don't, but it's an analogy of just. Sometimes life could be spaghetti and you're trying to find the meatballs and there's actually instructions on the packet, and if someone says to you, why don't you read the instructions? You might get a quicker return. So have a plan, have a strategy.
So how did your family and friends respond? At something that I know for me, for example, when I started my first business, there was a lot of people around saying, why don't you just go and get a job? So you're in a job and stepping away from a job. What was the reaction of your friends and family?
I think I've always been a very forthright person, very clear on what I want to do, very, it's not about being strong-willed, but very determined. Determined is a very good word to describe me, very enthusiastic. And the skills that an entrepreneur will have, and I keep referring to that because sometimes you'll see things in a different way that is outside of or different to what you may term in a multinational organization or a small to medium enterprise could be a standard operating procedure. And knowing the confidence levels that I had in my own personal belief, but also the fact of I'm the person that will get it done. I don't threaten people. I promise this is going to happen. And so I say that in sometimes consultants. I don't threaten to come and see you. I promise you I'm going to see you. And people can laugh and joke. I said, I'm serious. And I think it's that resolve of this has to work. There is no other option. I didn't feel for me at the time to go and get a full-time job was the way forward. I appreciate the people that are salaried and doing that. That's good for them. But there comes a point in life where you have to just push past some of the norms. And so the best way to describe it, if you had 10 escalators in a row and 9 of them were going up and you decided to go down, that's what starting a business looks like. And on those kind of 10 escalators, you can have in one lane your family, another lane your friends, another lane your former colleagues that you worked with, another lane a different group of people that you're connected with, another lane your own doubts and fears, and then there's this one lane where you're just like, yeah, no, everyone's going down, but I just really feel I just need to go up. And that's a hard one to balance when you get to the point of, I know I need to do this. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Is that something that you developed latterly? Did you always have a sense from, I guess, even at university, that you at some point would branch out?
Definitely. It's funny you should mention that, because I don't know what some people do, what people don't do, but I write out my thoughts about my goals and ambitions, my priorities for the year, for the next 5 years, 10 years. And I'd already written names for my companies. And when I was at university, I think that's, I used to have this email address. I still, I don't know how to say it.
Inundated.
And I was always going to have that company. I have business cards printed. And then when you get into the world of work, you're having to think what's going to be a really good name for your business. So what I would say is I always knew I was going to have a business. I had all these other names. One idea I did have, now this bit you really should put in. I knew I was going to run my own business, because what I was going to do is, you know, the chocolate bars, Snickers and Mars, and Snickers in particular, it's being sold now, but back in 2004, 2005, I wrote down in my exercise book or whatever it was that you could have spreads from Snickers, and then I'd pop into the whatever brand of supermarket people shop at, and I find that idea on the shelf. So it may not have seemed like a major thing then, but I knew this is what I was going to make. I was going to tell Mars or whoever made those particular brands of chocolates that I was going to make them a sandwich spread, and people are going to love it. And then you go on the supermarket now, you see every single spread under the sun that is linked to a chocolate bar. So I guess I was a bit ahead of my time.
Did you have any kind of people in business around you that motivated you, or who was most influential?
I think I've always had people in business around me, my grandfather, my uncles. I think to look to one person that I saw as a business person, the challenge that you do have when you're younger is sometimes these things are deemed as normal. And I don't say that being in business is an abnormality. What I do say is that if you grow up around everybody being doctors, that just seems normal to you. So you think, oh, that's what everyone does. So I just knew there were certain things that we did where the money made wasn't through a salary. It might have been dressmaking. It might have been designing. So I've got a set of twins and my uncle and aunt, so they will do dressmaking, designing. That's not from their main job, which will be the education profession. So it's those types of things. It's those smaller micro businesses that I saw.
So moving on to, I guess, coming back to the present, what are some of the key challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis in your business? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges that may make you feel like this is hard work?
100%. The biggest challenges sometimes is you have the crisis of confidence, and I don't say that lightly. What I do say is that running a business by yourself and being that one person who is the chief operating officer, chief financial officer, chief marketing officer, it can be really tough for me as a super confident person to tell people what I do and to talk about me and to sell the business. And I don't know how other entrepreneurs get over that, but it comes to a point where it's either you do or die, and so you have to contact people, you have to call people. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges that can happen in business, and I experienced that. You can also, one of the things for me can be the challenge of not celebrating the successes. So with regards to when you secured something, or with regards to when you have finished a piece of work within a project, teams may go on team away days, but when you're the consultant advising the organization, there is no massive consultant's day away. It's you. And the struggle is to just take that moment to pause and celebrate. The other challenges that can happen are payment terms. When you have I love the way your eyebrows rose at that point.
We know that one.
Payment terms, and I don't know what the perception of people can be of those in business, but I think if you look at it from the perspective of a gravy train, when you're salaried, you know that every time you go to pour out that gravy from the gravy boat, the gravy's going to come out. When you're running a business, gravy can be sometimes lumpy. There can be a huge lump of stuff, then there can be a dribble, then it can actually be nothing. And how do you manage that appropriately? How do you help people to understand that you're not actually trying to run some sort of financial services company where you're constantly chasing them for money? It's just that what you're owed is due, and so how do you manage some of those tensions, because you like your client, you do some great work with your client, however they don't seem to understand that when you said X and Y concerning payment terms, that's not a starting point, that is actually a full stop at the end of the sentence. Deliver.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hand back to you, because I don't want to ramble on a bit too much.
No, it's true, and it's the reality. And I think some people do talk about it, but I don't think big businesses acknowledge how impactful it is on small businesses when they don't pay. Looked at the challenges, so let's go to the positive. Yeah. What are some of the most enjoyable bits of running your business?
The most enjoyable bits of running my business are being able to help people and to see their see some of the solutions that I've put in or I suggested be manifest and get great results. Some of the best opportunities, some of the best feelings are a job well done, and also sometimes being compared to other major consultancies like the Big Four. And it's when there's the tiny Tash Pennant consultancy just making a suggestion or saying this is the way forward, and having that feedback of, oh, we're going to listen to you rather than these other people, because they don't have that either experiential or just those solutions that can bring forth the outcome that people need. I think some of the other great things are when people recommend you, when they refer you, when they speak highly of you, when they openly attest for your work and you don't have to prod them. That's like great stuff. Thank you. Also getting paid is great. So
yes.
You've asked me on this question. I think it's lovely when the money lands in your bank account, and you're always mindful of, there's always things to do with that. So running a business, it's not like a gravy train that's constantly running. It's that thing of, oh my gosh, that's so needed right now, that payment, because this needs to get paid.
What would you say has been the greatest lesson that you've learned from being in business and learned about yourself?
The greatest lesson I've learned about myself is that I am valuable, and that might seem like an odd thing to say, but when you're in a team, when you're in an organization, you can have affirmation from your line manager, from your colleagues. But when you have self-affirmation, where you realize that, you know what, there's a line which says some people, I can't remember the line, but basically it's just knowing that you're really good and you're excellent and you deliver at comparative levels to peers, but also to major organizations. That's really helpful. So in terms of my value, and in terms of me, and just even setting pricing for the work that I do, it's knowing that my work is comparable and it's surpassing others. That's been really helpful for me. I think what's been great for the business is just to have that kind of solidity of working with great clients and having them recommend you and refer you. That's really helpful too.
Mm-hmm. In terms of the clients that you've worked with thus far, and I'm not going to go into any data protection, but what would you say has been kind of your most rewarding experience, and why?
The most rewarding experience was getting a call from a major organization. I didn't know they knew I existed. And it was when people have asked about how did you get that, how did you land that, I put my business, in terms of what I do, I see it as an outlet for me to kind of walk out what I believe, my belief system, but also it's just that thing of, oh my gosh, I can't believe you called me. There have been times when I was doing a piece of work with the organisation, and this is going to sound so crackers, but I'm just going to share it. I remember being in a hotel and just jumping on the bed. And I say that because sometimes you're so always in this mode, and it's almost like you're always trying to be like this, trying to be calm. And it was, I can't remember, I think it was Leeds. So sorry, I'm not going to name the hotel chain, but I just got in the room and I was so excited, so elated. And that was a point of, it wasn't me taking my mask off, it was just me just expressing the joy of being able to get the call from them. And to, this was very, as much, it was like a long-term in, but it was more the fact of, this is real, this is it. And I'm going to share with you, one of the craziest things about being a business owner is when you can be in the client and you can email yourself from the client and it's like, yes, it's real. I'm here. So this is me. I think part of the way I do business is it comes from the inside out. There's no there's no kind of trying to polish it all the time. I think I've learned now in business that people buy me, they buy the way I bring it, they buy the way I sell it. And if I could bottle it and reproduce it like 15 times, I don't know, yeah, that'd be great, 15 of me. But I bring the Tash Pennant consultancy flavor. And sometimes one of the things that I said one client is people can get tashed. And what that means is you can get tashed in a good way or a bad way.
Oh, tashed.
Yeah, you get tashed. And the reason why people may get tashed is there's a way that people want to do things or want to deliver things, but there's also a reason why you're there. And as the advisory or the consultant within the situation, the reason why they're paying you is to give them your advice and to give them what you think, your perspective. They can choose to take your advice, they can choose to leave it. However, if they don't take your advice and things go wrong, that's their prerogative. Unfortunately, they then cannot come back to you and try and ask for some sort of remedy without being tashed. And just remind them, you know, that I want to really work with you, I think this is great, but I really think it's a good idea that you should take on board when I'm saying to you X, Y, and Z. And it's like, yeah, you just got tashed. There's also the other tashing where it's just, I'm a very happy, enthusiastic person. So I will bring the happiness to the office. And I found that people sometimes aren't expecting me, because one, my accent's slightly different to some they might have heard, but the others they might be used to. And being totally just kind of observatory, I'm a Black female consultant. And sometimes, and most times, I will be the only one in the room that is of a level where you're talking to senior people within organisations, and then they want to ask you where the toilet is. And I say, I don't work here. So it's just been some of those perceptions of, oh, why would you be in the meeting? Yeah, because you called me to consult. Oh, we didn't know. So some of those things, it's where you just have to it's exciting, but it's bringing that energy of, yes, I have my seat at the table, I occupy it well because I deliver well.
Okay, now you sent me off on a tangent of too many questions.
I know, maybe we should cut out a bit about my experience. Where's the toilet? I don't work here.
No, I think that needs to be said. That needs to be, we're including that. So the two questions from that. The first question is, you come across as a very bubbly, happy individual, and you clearly wear who you are very authentically. It's not an act. How did you, and I don't know how to phrase this properly, but how did
say
you,
what you said, answer it.
Yeah, how were you able to stand in yourself and just be unapologetically Tash and not be worried about people's perceptions of that? Because sometimes people feel that, I don't know, either it can be one or the other. I'm too bubbly, I'm too confident, or I'm too quiet, I'm too introvert. So I have to try and adapt to what people want or what I think people want. How were you able to come to a point where this is actually just me and they like it or lump it? That's question number one.
Okay.
Marinate on that for a minute. The second question is, being a Black woman in business and having that, I guess, sometimes perception of people not necessarily valuing you or not necessarily seeing that you should fit into where you actually are. How have you overcome that, and how have you stopped that from impacting your confidence or impacting the route that you take? So, I don't know, going for big clients and knowing that you can get it irrespective of whether you're a woman or because you're Black.
Okay, to go to the first point of how do I still be me, authentically me, being really honest. And I'm going to go back to the days when I was salaried, working in an organisation. There's a phrase that people are using now, and I say it, you've got to bring your whole self to work. And And to give you an example, with my hair. So the hair that I have is mine. I'm a black woman with a big afro. So I know it doesn't look like it today, but in certain situations where I've been working with a client for a long time, what you have to appreciate is this particular style isn't always going to be the same for the next 10 years or the next 3 months, 4 months. And what I've had to appreciate for me is that I bring it regardless. And the challenge that you have is when you're traveling so much with a client or with clients, the commodity of what you are as a business is that you're there to deliver. And when you're salaried, you get the flexibility to continue to change. But when you're a consultant sitting at a senior level table, sometimes I think, oh, you changed your hair. Yes, I have, because if I was to leave one particular style in, believe you me, you'd be thinking, why does she come like this to work? Or why do we pay her this? What's wrong with her? And it's part of it when you get to the point of, I have to keep being me, because if you try to hide who you are, eventually the suppression gets too much. It's like a rocket or like a spaceship. It just kind of explodes, and that's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for your business. Recently I just wrote an article which is called "Put Your Oxygen Mask On," and that was about having that time to look after myself rather than constantly looking for everyone else. And that even can be in the client. We need to take a step back. It may be that you just kind of have that moment, maybe not in the room, but outside of there, go for a walk and just regroup and get yourself together and appreciate who you are, because they wouldn't have called you if you weren't good. And that's been a huge one for me. With regards to when did I get to the point of acceptance of this is who I am, I think it was turning 30. There was a switch that happened. But in business, what I realize now is, if you don't actually take a step back, my uncle used to always tell me, Tash, we gave you too much confidence. And I can never understand that. And then running my own business, and he thought he was helping me to kind of tell me, kind of potentially stay in your lane, and you just play by the rules, or the rules of whatever else somebody else has made. And I realize now that if I don't have this confidence, if I don't have this kind of, I'm here and I'm ready to get working, and to bring that kind of zestiness to a meeting where when people are smiling, neurologically their brain is engaged to listen and hear what you've got to say. When they're not, it's going to be a tough one. That's just science. And so when you're having to apply science to a situation, which is going to be very challenging to tell people, this is what I found, this is what this looks like, that confidence has to fit in somewhere when you're running a business. And regardless of whether you're introverted, extroverted, there needs to come a point where you realize that actually I know what I'm doing. I know the ways to communicate this. I know the ways to share this with other people. And I am going to say it and articulate it in a way that lets them recognize that among their peers, among the organizations, among other consultants they could have chosen, I'm the right fit for them. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, definitely. So coming to the end, 3 pieces of advice you'd give to someone, whether that be a man or a woman, who's thinking of quitting their job, starting their own business, becoming a consultant. What was the 3 pieces of advice you'd give them?
Number 1, don't quit your job. Be really clear on that one. The reason why I say that is because you need to have a plan. So this we're going to prayer kind of fly by the seat of your pants foolishness. I would say to you, please do not do it. I would genuinely say, please do not do it, because if you are in a job, I think you need to have the same approach now that you'd have to your business, which is you'd have a strategy, you have a plan, you have tools and techniques in place. And so if you're about to start a business and you're just going to do it on a wing and a prayer, that's great if you feel that strongly. But I really suggest, if you're already in a job, start planning your steps out. And so one thing I used to say when I do this consultancy, I'm footprintsing steps out. And so you'd always see my footprints within an organization, but my steps would always be, my feet would all be going out the door, because I'm like scaffolding. I'm not there to be there all the time. If you are going to start a business, one of the best things you can do is start to plan and strategize before you put your notice in. Start to do an internal audit of where you are and start to make steps. So I would say, number 1, get great advice. So 1, don't quit your job without thinking it through, because there can be consequences such as panic. and panic can cause you to be paralyzed and not move forward. So yeah, maybe it's because my experience has worked out for me, but I wouldn't, looking at it from a strategic perspective, I wouldn't suggest people just run off with the fairies and do that. But number one, have a plan. Have a plan. It's really important, even if it's on the back of a napkin that you have at a dinner table. And I say that because sometimes you need to be referring to that plan of where you're supposed to get to, what you're supposed to be doing. If I didn't have a clear idea of the area I was going to be working in, believe you me, I've done tiling once. I've probably tried to tile people's bathrooms and kitchens. Oh yeah. And it's the whole plan of, what are we actually here to do? Why am I running this business? What does it need to be? What actually excites me? Go with what your passions and strengths are. Do not be fooled by trying to follow the dream in the sense of, I just feel to do this. Yesterday I did some baking, and it was great fun, but I'm not going to be on Britain's was it Great British, something about this bake off. I'll be there you go. So have a plan. Also go with your passions, your drive. Also get great information. I say that because for me, just being totally honest about how it works for me, if I don't have a business coach, I would be Googling, I would be messaging, but also get someone to work alongside you. And sometimes that means you get free advice, sometimes that means you have to pay, especially when you're starting out, because some of the information that people that are ahead in the game, in the game of business and life, might say to you, don't do this, do that, turn this way, do that. And I think that's really important. The other thing I would say is, if you are going to start up on a business, get your LinkedIn profile sorted out. Let people know you exist. The reason why I say that is because one of my clients had me work directly with the organization of LinkedIn, and there are so many levers behind the scenes of the front page that you see, the user interface, that organizations are using to find people like you. And so getting your LinkedIn profile sorted out before anything would be really helpful. Just kind of tidy yourself up, ready to go. It might seem like a chore, but I think it's really important just to kind of get some profiling, get using a simple free tool to get that done will help you so much. Mm-hmm. That's 4 pieces, sorry.
No worries. It's one extra bonus. You can never have too much advice, right?
That's what I say.
Thank you so much. If people want to find out more about you, about your business, where can they go?
They can go to www.tashpennant.co.uk. They can go to my Twitter, that's @TashPennant. Go to my Instagram, @TashPennant. They'll soon be able to find me on Facebook and is anywhere else? LinkedIn, yeah, LinkedIn. LinkedIn's really good. Yeah, LinkedIn's really good @TashPennant. So if you actually type into Google, I should be the first search term that comes up. So that'll be there too. If in doubt, you need to call me or email me, tash@tashpennant.co.uk, or you can call me on the numbers on the website. So yeah, that's how you get a hold of me. So if you've got organizational challenges and you need someone to help you work through those with communications, employee engagement, give Tash Pennant Consultancy an email, a call, or get in touch via LinkedIn. I can help.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us, and I wish you every success in the business, and I'm sure our paths will continue to cross, and one day I'll have you back to talk about some of the wonderful things that you specialize in. As I'm speaking to you, I'm like, actually, I can see another video series here with the kind of masterclasses sharing for all of the people that's watching. So I look forward to doing that at some point. I'm just going to put that out into the ether and watch it come together at some point. For those of you who are watching, if you haven't already done so, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you've enjoyed watching this interview, please write your comments underneath. And also, if you're interested in taking part in the She's the Boss video interview campaign and social media campaign, please drop me an email at hello@genusec.com. And also, if you're in the process of thinking about starting a business, if you've recently started a business, if you're trying to grow your business and you need some advice, you need some support, please get in touch. Visit www.genusec.com. Thanks for watching.